consumption falls, there is a corresponding fall in electricity usage. So it is welcome news today that the consumption of power by industry and commerce in the Hunter region has been increasing steadily for the past year. Today, the Shortland County Council announced that consumption for the first 2 months of this year is up 14.1% on overall commercial consumption for the same period last year. The figures for the major customer groupings show very large increases in consumption by steel product industries, coal mining and the manufacturing sector. Smaller but still significant increases are shown for chemical industries, government departments, food processing and fertiliser industries. Of the Shortland County Council's individual customers, Port Waratah Coal Services has increased its consumption of power most significantly. Its consumption for the first 2 months of this year is up 43.6% on last year. A spokesman for the coal loader says the increase is the result of a 25% increase in the amount of coal going through the facility. He also pointed out that since the beginning of last year, an additional ship loader, another rail receiving facility, 2 reclaimers and a stacker have been commissioned at the loader. The question now is whether the levels of commercial electricity consumption will in fact continue to rise. The chairman of the Shortland County Council, Alderman Kevin Evans, is confident that they will. He's also confident that the latest statistics indicate a bright economic future for the Hunter Valley.
The economy is on the upward trend. I'm a great disciple of Professor Cyril Renwick, and there are other, I believe, indicators that we are on the upward trend in the Hunter Valley.
Do you believe electricity consumption is a good economic indicator?
I think people would have to recognise a degree of soundness and a degree of truthfulness in that statement too.
At its meeting this afternoon, the Shortland County Council decided it would not follow other councils by contributing to a statewide advertising campaign. The $400,000 campaign was launched to coincide with the announcement that electricity standing charges for the autumn and winter quarters were to be abolished. The Electricity Commission and the Energy Authority provided $200,000 towards the advertising. The Sydney County Council pledged $120,000, and it was hoped that other county councils would provide the rest. The Shortland County Council has decided not to contribute on the grounds that it was not consulted on the advertisements in advance. The County Council has estimated that the withdrawal of standing charges for the next 2 quarters will cost it more than $4 million.
Livening up the show with some high-flying action from the Aboriginal. An act belonging to the Australian Circus Royale. This unusual in fact will be reviewed twice a day until the end of next week. Turn. Go back, Kevin! Heads up, switches! Heads up!
Following today's success, the organisers of the trade fair are hoping this year's event will attract a record crowd. The number of exhibitors is slightly down on previous years, but with displays numbering in the hundreds, there is still something to interest everyone. The trade fair is a shopper's dream. Everything from cars and caravans to clothing and computers is on show. As well, there is no shortage of entertainment. There are regular demonstrations by the fire brigade, music courtesy of local radio stations, and even a couple of break dances. The trade fairs are organised each year by the Combined Service Clubs of Toronto. Charities to benefit this time around include the Toronto Community Health Service, the Toronto District Ambulance, the Western Lake Macquarie Concert Band, First Chance, and the Macquarie Preschool Cooperative.
Undoubtedly a touchy subject. The fact call at today's meeting showed there is real concern amongst those who might be affected if the dump were to be established at Peel or Main. Speakers told the meeting such a dump could become a disposal area for toxic waste from outside the Hunter. The dangers of such waste, should they leak into nearby Wallace Creek, were outlined. Peter Barrett from Newcastle Trade Pole Council said his council would support residents in the fight against the toxic dump. In fact, he said waterfront unions were already threatening to cut off supplies of aluminum from the aluminium. The council went ahead with its plan for the disposal area at Wallaroo, north of Newcastle. Defending Cessnock's council's decision to go ahead with a study of the Peel or Main dump site, Deputy Mayor George Ellis, to some mild heckling from the audience, said the move was to ensure informed discussion. He and other aldermen cautioned against emotional decisions being made on the issue. After all, he said the toxic waste must be put somewhere. The meeting passed several motions, including a request for local member Stan Healy to raise the issue with the government.
And if I can read the report, I think probably it's a...
Such is the growing interest in the region's history, a surprising number of people braved the windswept Port Scratchley today to enjoy some of the special displays being staged for Heritage Week. Snug from the weather inside the old ammunition store, the National Trust and the South Maitland Railways Preservation Council have mounted an exhibition of photographs which trace the history of this private railway that only last year saw an end to steam power. Running continuously are two films on the railway, including Farewell to Steam, produced by NBN News. In other sections of the port, the maritime and military museums have also made special arrangements for Heritage Week. The displays will be open daily until next weekend.
The Morpeth Fair attracted some 17 antique dealers from along the east coast and 2,000 connoisseurs and browsers. Many dealers travel to England when the supply of our homegrown antiques is running low, so the array of wares at the Morpeth Fair is comparable to Europe's best. From the porcelain to walking sticks and the ever-popular silverware, the buyer has a multitude of goodies to choose from. Some were a little rarer than others, like this 19th century Swiss music box at $2,750. It's sure to touch the heartstrings, but it's all in the bells of Cappy Delamico's flash. The two-day show started in sunny conditions. Chairman of the organising committee, Mr John Steele, says 35,000 people bustled through the gates and along the alleys on Saturday, with a further 25,000 taking in the many and varied exhibitions on Sunday. But yesterday the sun moved aside for more stormy conditions. So stormy, in fact, that the wind and rain caused the collapse of a marquee. No one was hurt, but the fair wound up earlier than scheduled. One event that braved the unfavourable conditions was the rock bolting. Rock bolting is an operation that normally takes place deep underground, and in yesterday's weather that's probably where the teams would rather have been. A total of 27 two-man teams, including for the first time 2 hard rock miners from Cobar, fought out the championship at the trade fair. Rock bolting involves more than just toting their heavy air drill. The bolts must go into the correct depth and stand a check by judges wielding a tension wrench. More than one team lost points this weekend by substandard bolting. But in the final between the Cooranbong team, Pearson and Brotherton on the left, and Kale and Traffers from Tarmore near Picton, it was a straight-out test of speed. Neither team lost points, and in the end it was the Cooranbong pair that carried off the contest and a cheque for $1,000. The rock bolting was the highlight of the Toronto Trade Fair, which proved immensely successful in spite of yesterday's weather.
Thanks, John. Good morning. Well, this could be the start of something big. That could be the start of a song too, I think. But anyway, quite terrible out here at the moment. We're almost being blown off our feet. The winds are unbelievable, gusting from the southeast, gusts up around 80 kilometres per hour, and of course a strong wind warning's current for coastal waters south of Port Macquarie. And north of Port Macquarie, of course, gale winds. And that's caused by a low pressure system off the South Queensland coast, and that system moving south-southeast. It's going to affect our weather for the next couple of days or so. Around the beaches this morning, a miserable scene for the board riders. There's just nothing rideable happening at all anywhere around Newcastle, north or south of Newcastle for that matter. The waves, of course, will be increasing. At the moment, around 1.8 metres, but they're going to get a lot bigger over the next day or so. The winds on shore not going to abate in the immediate future, and it'll be 2 or 3 days before we see anything rideable for the board riders. For the swimmers, all city beaches are completely written off, and it's bars only if you're that keen. As far as the weather's concerned, forecast issued by the Bureau for today includes a strong wind warning, and it's current for coastal waters. Rain periods, heavy at times, a cool to mild day otherwise. Winds from the south to southeast at 50 to 66 kilometres per hour. Rough seas on a moderate to heavy swell. Newcastle and Scone both expecting a top of 20 degrees today. Low tide at 8:37 this morning, half a metre. High tide at 10 minutes to 3 this afternoon, 1.1 metres. And the outlook for tomorrow is for rain easing to showers with southeasterly winds. And there we have it. The winds are so strong I can hardly hear myself speak out here. I'm coming in out of the wind. Nothing happening for the board riders weather-wise. 20 degrees, strong winds, rain periods, and then easing to showers tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay out of this wind if you can. Back again tomorrow morning.
Well, he has simply acknowledged receipt of my submission, and the submission is 9 foolscap pages typed together with 6 appendices, which are probably about 30 to 40 pages. So it's quite a sizable submission.
Were incorrect.
I would trust the critical evidence to the forensic proposition that there was infant blood in the car is wrong. And I believe that we now have what might be termed the critical evidence to prove it. You see, in the trial, it was agreed by Mrs. Cool and the expert brought in from London to support the Crown case that if it could be shown that the testing solution used to identify fetal haemoglobin would react with something other than fetal haemoglobin, then Mrs. Cool's opinions were not valid. And we now have that solid proof, provided in a document from the manufacturers of the testing solution.
Professor Botcher believes the government should review the way scientific evidence is presented and heard in our courts.
It must be extremely difficult for a lay jury, confronted with terms that they've never heard before, and to hear two sides arguing, yes, I'm right, no, you're wrong, for them to make up their minds. And the other thing is, of course, that they may well make up their minds not based on the validity of the argument or the how good the facts are, but on the way the people perform in court. And that is a wrong way to make decisions. And I think we really do need some law reform or looking into how is expert scientific evidence given in court in a way that it's meaningful to the jury and that they can really rely on it rather than hear two sides arguing about what can be accepted and what cannot.
What will be your next step?
Oh, that's very difficult to know because, you see, I have made a submission to the Attorney General of the Northern Territory. If he says, we have looked into it and find no substance and therefore take no action, I don't think I can do very much with the Attorney General of the Northern Territory. I will then try other avenues. I have submitted my material to the Governor-General because he is to receive a petition in the not-too-distant future, and I have submitted my material to him to say, look, there is substance in these petitions rather than just emotional appeal to try to get something done. Whether something can be done through the federal government, I don't know. I'll certainly try. I'll try any avenue.
A number of problems were highlighted by the phone-in. These include a lack of privacy when landlords and agents arrive unannounced, the cost of rental accommodation, and the reluctance of landlords to do household repairs. But coordinator of the Newcastle Neighbourhood Centre, Ms Tracy O'Shea, says the major problem is an ignorance of tenants' rights and obligations.
The reason that you've conducted this phone-in is to get evidence to lobby against the Act. Now, what's wrong with the present Act?
Well, the present Act came about in 1899, so as you can imagine, it's just not modern enough. There need to be substantial changes to bring it up to date, to make it fair for both owners and tenants. And that's basically what we're trying to do. Also, with the Anti-Discrimination Act, we're attempting to get that changed as well, so that people who are on unemployment benefits or who have children can't be discriminated against when they're seeking accommodation.
The main section of Newcastle Railway Station was built in 1877, but over the years it was disfigured by additions and then gradually submerged in the city drive. Now, however, it's regained something of its original architectural appeal. Everything that could be restored or preserved has been, and throughout the restoration the National Trust has been consulted on every detail, right down to the colours of signs, seats and costume stands. In an effort to maintain the overall theme, unique bush art platform seats were borrowed from the Central Railway Station. station staff have entered into the spirit of things too, and taking a new pride in what's become a very attractive railway station. The work is being carried out by the SRA's own maintenance workers and will be complete in time for electrification in June. A total of $600,000 is being spent.